Cognitive decline, forgetfulness, mood imbalances, and reduced mental sharpness are all experiences commonly accepted as normal facets of aging. But what if these symptoms are not inexorable markers of neurological decay, but instead reflections of prolonged nutritional inadequacy, particularly involving the B vitamin complex and choline? Neurotransmitter systems, responsible for maintaining mood, memory, attention, and executive function, rely heavily on a consistent supply of key nutrients, especially vitamins B6, B12, folate, and choline. When these are deficient, even mildly but chronically, the brain's ability to synthesize and regulate critical neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and acetylcholine is impaired. This nutritional bottleneck produces symptoms that mimic what we call brain aging, yet are in many cases reversible, highlighting how deeply brain function is tied not to the calendar, but to biochemistry. Serotonin, for example, is synthesized from the amino acid tryptophan in a pathway that depends directly on vitamin B6, pyridoxal phosphate. Without sufficient B6, the conversion stalls and serotonin levels decline. This can manifest as anxiety, depression, and disrupted sleep, symptoms frequently attributed to aging or hormonal shifts, but which often track more precisely with B6 status. Similarly, dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation, reward sensitivity, and motor control, is synthesized from tyrosine via an enzymatic process that also requires B6. A deficiency here can result in apathy, attention deficits, slowed thinking, and in more extreme cases, Parkinsonian symptoms, not due to neuron loss necessarily, but because neurotransmitter output has slowed or faltered due to missing metabolic cofactors. Folate and vitamin B12 together form the cornerstone of one-carbon metabolism, a critical process for methylation, a biochemical modification essential for DNA repair, detoxification, and especially neurotransmitter synthesis. B12 deficiency, in particular, has long been associated with cognitive impairment, depression, and even dementia-like symptoms, which are frequently misdiagnosed in elderly populations. But when B12 status is restored, especially early on, many of these cognitive symptoms can reverse, demonstrating that what we call age-related neurodegeneration is sometimes instead a state of neurochemical starvation. Folate, working in tandem with B12, regulates homocysteine, a neurotoxic amino acid that accumulates in deficiency states and contributes to oxidative stress and vascular damage in the brain. Elevated homocysteine is one of the strongest modifiable risk factors for cognitive decline, and its reduction through folate and B12 supplementation has shown promise in preserving brain function in aging populations. Choline is another essential nutrient in this network, often overlooked but critical for the production of acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter involved in learning, memory, and attention. Acetylcholine levels are known to decline in Alzheimer's disease, but low choline intake across the lifespan contributes to earlier and more subtle deficits in working memory, focus, and mental endurance. Choline also plays a structural role in building phospholipids for neuronal membranes, affecting both the physical integrity of brain tissue and the speed of signal transmission. Yet studies show that many adults, especially older adults, consume far less choline than recommended, particularly if egg yolks and organ meats, rich natural sources, are absent from the diet. When seen through this nutritional lens, the decline in neurotransmitter function is not an inevitable byproduct of age, but a predictable outcome of cumulative nutrient gaps. Modern diets, often low in leafy greens, legumes, whole grains, eggs, and meats, fail to deliver adequate quantities of these neuronutrients. Compounding the issue, aging itself reduces gastric acid production, which impairs absorption of B12, while medications such as proton pump inhibitors and metformin further deplete B vitamin levels. The result is a self-reinforcing loop. Older adults are told cognitive decline is expected, so their symptoms are normalized, not investigated. Meanwhile, the nutritional root causes continue, uncorrected, until true neurodegeneration sets in, not due to inevitability, but to prolonged biochemical neglect. The good news is that early and even mid-stage symptoms related to neurotransmitter insufficiency often respond robustly to intervention. Supplementing with B-complex vitamins, restoring choline intake through diet or targeted support, and correcting homocysteine levels with methylated folate can lead to meaningful improvements in memory, clarity, mood, and energy. These are not placebo effects or temporary boosts. They are the result of reactivating core metabolic pathways that had gone dormant due to lack of substrate. We must, therefore, question the assumption that declining neurotransmitter function is intrinsic to the aging brain. Instead, what often appears as brain aging is a preventable and, in some cases, reversible syndrome of neuronutrient deficiency. The brain remains plastic, responsive, and capable of repair well into older age, so long as the raw materials for repair are consistently supplied. Aging, in this view, is not a disease of the brain but a signal from the brain that its nutritional needs are no longer being met. When those needs are restored, function returns, not as an exception, but as a rule. In this context, the argument that aging represents malnutrition rather than disease gains profound support. The brain does not stop working because time has passed. It falters when its fuel runs out. And this fuel is not mysterious. It is B6, B12, folate, choline, and the foundational compounds that have always built neurotransmitters and neuronal resilience. To age well cognitively is not to defy biology, but to respect and feed it.